They told us Building 47 didn't exist. Yet every night, 2 unmarked trucks would roll through the fog and stop at the same locked gate. No lights, no sound. One night, I followed. The road behind the fence wasn't even on satellite view, and when I reached the checkpoint, my ID scanner froze. The guard's eyes didn't blink because there weren't any eyes, just glass. Building 47 sits beyond the normal perimeter of Fort Reading, about a half-mile past the last motion sensor, where the map ends and the forest begins. At least, that's what the old satellite overlays suggested. Now those coordinates just show static gray. The first time I drove perimeter duty near it, the temperature inside the Humvee dropped 10 degrees in seconds. My breath fogged. The radio started whispering, but the channel was open silence. I remember glancing at Private Duran beside me. He was gripping his rifle, knuckles white. He muttered, "You feel that?" Before I could answer, motion sensors lit up on our dashboard. Zone 12, perimeter breach. We rolled up with headlights off, just fog, concrete, and the faint outline of a fence. But there was something wrong with the shadows. They moved slower than the mist. That's when I remembered the first unofficial rule we'd been told by the veterans. If you see something moving near 47, it's not outside the fence. Duran leaned out to check the infrared. "Sir, we've got heat signatures. Wait, no, they're behind us now." The screen blinked, static. Then it showed us, our own vehicle. But the timestamp was 3 minutes ahead. We reversed, backed off the zone, and called command. No answer. Just a long burst of static, followed by a single voice repeating coordinates that didn't exist. Duran wrote them down anyway. Human instinct, I guess. But when we looked them up later, they pointed to the center of Building 47's foundation. I didn't sleep that night. None of us did. The next morning, the major held a closed briefing. No notebooks, no recorders, no questions. He said perimeter zone 12 was offline for maintenance. Then he handed us new orders. Avoid the fog line after 0200 hours. If you see your own patrol lights, turn around immediately. No one asked why. That night, I broke that rule because I needed to know what was inside. At exactly 0213, I drove alone to Zone 12. The fog was thicker, the air dead quiet. My headlights caught the same outline of the fence and something standing at the gate. It looked like a man in a base jacket, but his posture was off, too still, like a mannequin left out in the cold. When I called out, his voice came from my radio instead of the air. "Perimeter secure. Proceed to Building 47. He didn't move, but the radio light flickered with each word. I should have turned back, but curiosity always beats fear when you wear a uniform long enough. I stepped out and walked closer. The figure's badge caught the light. My name, my ID number. My pulse kicked. Then he turned. It wasn't a person. It was a reflection. Me, staring from the other side of the gate. Several seconds delayed, breathing fog that didn't match mine. When I reached out to touch the fence, the radio cut out completely. and the lights from the guard tower blinked 3 times. That's the code they use when someone goes missing inside Building 47. And then I realized I hadn't reported in for the last 18 minutes, but command said my voice had been broadcasting the entire time. When I got back to the barracks that night, everyone was already awake, not from noise, from silence. The base intercom was dead, lights flickering, and every clock in the dorm read the same thing, 02:47. No one mentioned it, but every man there had done night patrol at least once that week. Every one of us had a reason to pretend nothing was wrong. But I couldn't stop thinking about the copy of me at the fence. The voice that spoke through my radio. Same tone, same call sign. Command said my radio logs showed no anomalies. Still, when I played the recording later, I heard 2 voices overlapping, both mine, both giving different coordinates. The next morning, Major Caro ordered me to report to the central hangar for reassignment. He said I'd been moved to shift duty. No one explained what that meant. They just handed me a new badge, black instead of blue, and an escort in full hazmat gear. As we walked down the steel corridor beneath the base, I noticed the air changed, heavier, metallic. Every door was marked 47S, 47A, 47-2, but none of them had handles. When the elevator finally stopped, the escort turned to me and said, "If you see your reflection move before you do, don't speak to it." Then he left. The lower level was freezing, condensation on every pipe, lights buzzing like insects. And in the middle of the hall stood a windowed chamber glowing white. Inside it, something that looked like a capsule suspended in cables. I could swear the floor under it pulsed. A man in a lab coat greeted me. He said, "Welcome to the time shift observation wing." Before I could respond, he added, "You've already been here before." I laughed, nervously. He didn't. He showed me a logbook with my signature, same handwriting, same pen pressure, dated 3 weeks from now. I thought it was a joke until the alarm went off. Red strobes flashed, doors sealed. A voice crackled over the intercom. "Containment breach in Wing C. All non-clearance personnel freeze." That's when I saw it. Down the hall, through the fogged glass, something stepped out of the capsule. Tall, but shaped wrong, stretched like someone had built a human from memory. Its head tilted like it was listening to something far away. Then every reflective surface in the corridor, metal panels, glass, even the visor on my helmet, showed the same thing. Me sprinting in the opposite direction. I ran for the elevator, hit the button. The doors opened instantly, like it had been waiting. Inside, no lights, just my reflection, flickering with delay, a few seconds behind my movement. The reflection mouthed something before I did. Rule 9, don't look back when the building hums. Then the hum started, low, mechanical, like the vibration of the earth itself. Every surface rippled, and for half a second I saw the same hallway, empty, decayed, covered in frost. When the elevator stopped, I stepped out expecting the barracks. Instead, I was standing in the same corridor, but the escort's hazmat suit was still on the floor, rusted, decades old. The clocks here still said 02:47, and over the intercom, my own voice whispered, "Perimeter secure. Proceed to building 47." The corridor felt dead, like the air had weight. Every footstep echoed a half-second late, as if the building itself was remembering the sound before I made it. The hazmat suit on the floor still had a name tag, Duran, the same private who was with me the night the radar doubled. My chest tightened. He was supposed to be alive, transferred weeks ago. But the tag was fused to the floor with rust, like it had been there for decades. I backed away, and the overhead lights buzzed brighter for a moment. That's when I saw my reflection again, walking just a step slower. And this time, it smiled before I did. The intercom popped. "Lieutenant Halloran, remain calm. The Echo Protocol has begun." A voice, calm, female, but it wasn't command. It was me. My voice, clear as day. She said, "Proceed to the observation chamber. You've done this before." I followed the sound, half in trance, half in denial. The deeper I went, the more the walls looked wrong. Metal bending like soft clay, door frames warping into ovals. Inside the chamber, the capsule still floated, spinning slowly, like a heart suspended in glass. And through the glass, I saw dozens of silhouettes, all of them, me. Different uniforms, different ages, but same face. Some were standing still, others pressed against the glass, palms red. I counted 7 before I realized 2 of them were moving in perfect sync with me. That's when the hum came back, low, rhythmic, like a pulse that wasn't mine. The logbook lay on a nearby table. I flipped to the last page. Activation successful. Subject retains 72% temporal integrity. Underneath, a signature. Mine. The chamber lights dimmed, and one of the figures on the other side of the glass tilted its head, exactly as I did. But then, it raised its hand first. The surface between us blurred, liquid metal rippling outward. My reflection stepped forward, out. Same uniform, same scars, same look of disbelief. He said quietly, "You weren't supposed to see this run." We stood inches apart. He wasn't breathing hard. I was. He looked older, not by years, but by time, like he'd been living in seconds that never ended. I said, "I thought the mission was reconnaissance." He replied, "It was, until we realized what the satellites were seeing wasn't outside Earth." He pointed upward or downward, I couldn't tell. "The distortion you track above 80,000 feet, that's this place, folding. Every time it resets, another one of us gets written back in." He stepped closer, voice trembling now. "Every time you break Rule 9, you create another me." The alarms triggered again, red light pulsing, but not from the speakers. It was coming from inside his chest, beneath the flight suit. And when it went off, all the other reflections started to turn. Their eyes glowed faint white in the glass, and one by one they pressed their palms to the surface. Each print left a burn mark. My reflection leaned close, whispered, "Don't run this time, just stay until the hum stops." Then the lights went out. When they came back, I was alone. The chamber was empty, and the capsule, it was open. The chamber door hissed shut behind me, locking on its own. Inside, everything was still, except the air. It shimmered, like heat rising off asphalt, but it was freezing cold. The capsule sat split open, the metal edges glowing faint blue. When I leaned in, it looked deeper than it should have, like staring down into the sky from above the stratosphere. For a moment, I saw movement inside it. Clouds, a contrail, and then a blackbird. The SR-71, flying backwards. I stumbled back, heart racing, because I'd heard that story before. Rule 6, if you experience lost time, report it as equipment malfunction. Except this wasn't a report. This was a recording, live. I hit the console. Static burst across every monitor in the room. Then one feed stabilized, a satellite angle showing Earth's upper atmosphere. Something was there. Not a craft, a shape. It wasn't orbiting. It was layered over the planet, bending light around itself like a shadow wrapped over the poles. The system tagged it as Echo Field 47. Status: active. Another feed blinked to life, live radar telemetry. Altitude: 85,000 feet. Speed: Mach 3.2. Pilot ID: Reeves, Captain Nathaniel. But the timestamp read 2:47 a.m., 3 hours from now. The room vibrated, not from sound, from inside my skull. The hum had changed. It no longer felt mechanical. It felt alive. I steadied myself on the railing, and that's when the reflection appeared again, this time in the glass surface of the console. He looked terrified. He mouthed, "Don't look up." Of course, I did. The ceiling had vanished. Above me was the same distortion I'd seen on the radar, a black dome bending starlight, swirling slow like an ocean tide. And through it, I saw the Nimitz. I saw the SR-71. I saw everything that wasn't supposed to connect, folded together like pages of the same classified report. The intercom crackled again. A male voice this time, older, rasped. "Lieutenant Holleran, you're inside the fold zone. Don't panic, you're just between frames." Between frames. That phrase hit like a punch, because suddenly I remembered. The clipboard in the briefing room. Rule 7, 2-man crews only. But my reconnaissance officer wasn't with me for days. He'd vanished after the last flight. And now I could hear him. Not through the radio, through the walls. "Holleran, you didn't land. We did." The lights flickered again, and every reflection around the room, the console, the glass, even the polished steel floor, began showing different scenes. Not the room I stood in, but hundreds of others. Other buildings, other bases, other versions of me, all looking up at the same black dome. The voice came again, layered now, mine, the RSO's, and dozens of others. This is where they overlap. Then the hum peaked, a sound that wasn't sound, a vibration that passed through bone, through time, and everything inverted. When I blinked, I was standing on a tarmac. Morning light, warm wind, a flight line of SR-71 stretched across the base. Normal, quiet. Except my watch still read 2:47, and across the runway, the base sign didn't say Beale Air Force Base. It said Building 47, Atmospheric Containment Division.
The sunlight looked wrong. It was too even, no shadows, no warmth, like a painting trying to pretend it was alive. Engines idled down the runway, and for a moment it felt normal. Crewmen walked, waved, loaded gear, but their movements repeated every 30 seconds. The same gesture, the same smile, the same sound of boots crunching gravel. That's when I realized it wasn't morning. It was a loop. I tried to call command, no response. Radio static rolled in, carrying faint words buried under interference. Recalibration cycle initiated, subject integrity at 63%. Then another voice, my own, whispered beneath it, "You're inside the training layer. You haven't flown yet." I walked toward the hangar. The SR-71 sat inside, cockpit open, ladder extended. It looked new, too new. The paint was flawless, the canopy spotless, like it hadn't been flown in years, or like it had just been built for this version of me. A clipboard hung on the side panel. Mission order number 47A, Recon Sweep Echo Field Alignment Test. Below that, in red ink, if mission clock diverges, do not descend. It wasn't signed by command. It was signed by me. Something in my chest twisted, like remembering a dream halfway through living it. I climbed the ladder. The cockpit recognized me. Instruments flickered to life, already warmed up, flight data loaded. Altitude target 85,000 feet. Mach target 3.3. Destination PAC-2 coordinates, restricted orbit. But I'd seen those coordinates before, the same ones Duran wrote down the night the radar doubled, the ones buried under Building 47. I reached for the throttle, but my reflection in the canopy glass wasn't moving with me. It stayed still, staring back. Then it raised its hand and pointed to the sky. The clouds overhead folded inward, not drifting, turning like a whirlpool pulling the sun into its center. The entire hangar began to tremble, metal warping, lights bleeding together. Voices filled my headset, dozens at once, all versions of me screaming warnings in overlapping loops. Don't engage, shut it down, don't look outside. Too late. The sky opened. The horizon inverted. Blue turned black, clouds turned inside out. For a split second, I saw the curvature of the earth from both sides. And then I saw the other SR-71. It wasn't flying parallel. It was flying through mine, like a ghosted image, phasing in and out. The onboard computer read, "Echo alignment achieved. Subject duplication 100%. My reflection in the canopy smiled. This time it spoke. "Congratulations, Lieutenant. You've stabilized the fold." I shouted back, "What fold?" It answered, "The one that keeps time from tearing itself apart." Before I could react, the world shuddered, not shaking, but rewinding. The hangar reappeared, the morning light reset. The same bootsteps echoed again, same crewmen, same motion, same faint smile.
and my radio clicked alive with the same calm voice I'd heard when it all began. Building 47 perimeter patrol, report status. I looked down. Same uniform, same patch, same hour. 0247. I whispered, perimeter secure. But this time, I heard my echo answer. No, it isn't. Not yet. When I left Building 47, I thought I'd escaped it. But the truth is, you don't leave that place. It stays with you. The hum, the glass, the weight of something alive under miles of metal. A week later, I was back at base. My clearance was frozen. My ID didn't scan anywhere. People I'd worked with for years suddenly acted like they'd never met me. My bunk was reassigned, my name erased from the morning roster. That same night, the blackout happened. Across the country, power grids flickered off for exactly 7 minutes and 47 seconds. A pattern no one could explain, but I recognized the number. 47. The next morning, I received an unmarked envelope under my door. Inside was a photo of the corridor, the same one from that night. But in the reflection of the glass, there was something new. A second figure behind me. Not human, not clear, just there. It was bending toward me. That's when I noticed something else, etched faintly on the border of the photo, in handwriting that looked almost mechanical. It knows you looked back. For days, I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I'd hear that low hum again, like the building was trying to call me back. Then reports started leaking online. Satellite images showing a large new structure built near the original coordinates, except this one wasn't on the ground. It was floating. No one could agree on what it was. A weather array, a classified defense dome, a reflection anomaly. But when I zoomed in, frame by frame, I could see the same mirrored panels, the same geometry. Building 47 had expanded. Somehow, it was building itself. A contact from the inside, someone who still had clearance, sent me one last coded message before their line went dark. They're not guarding something inside. They're keeping something from leaving. Since then, I've noticed strange static patterns in broadcast frequencies around 47. Every few nights they pulse in Morse code, always the same phrase, "Time does not move in here." The more I watch, the more I realize those pulses are syncing with me. When they stop, I feel it, like my thoughts freeze mid-sentence, then resume. Like something's testing how far it can reach. I keep telling myself I'm paranoid, that I'm just haunted by what I saw. But last night, every device in my apartment powered on at once. TV, laptop, phone, all showing a single feed, the inside of Building 47. And standing in front of the mirrored wall was me. Except the timestamp said the footage was from 3 days in the future. I tried unplugging everything, but the reflection on the black screen didn't vanish. It stayed, tilted its head, smiling like it already knew what I was going to do next. That's when I understood. The building wasn't built to contain an experiment. It is the experiment, and now it's no longer inside the fence. Every signal, Every reflection, every piece of mirrored glass, it's all a door. And each time someone looks too long, it learns a little more about how to step through. The hum is louder now. Sometimes I think I can hear words inside it, just fragments of things that sound like my own thoughts, just a little ahead of me. And whenever I look into a mirror, I catch the faintest shimmer, like the surface is waiting for a command. I think Building 47 is awake, and it's calling me back home. Tomorrow, I'll go back, not because I want to, but because the reflection already did.
The road to Building 47 was supposed to be sealed, but when I reached the perimeter, the gate stood wide open, chain link torn and humming faintly, like it had been cut by light itself. No guards, no vehicles, just silence, broken by the faint echo of that same low vibration I'd heard the first night underground. It didn't feel like I was walking toward the building. It felt like the building was pulling me in. Inside, everything was the same, almost. The corridors gleamed with that sterile, impossible brightness. But there was a distortion now, like the light didn't know which way to bend. My footsteps didn't echo back anymore. They arrived early. I reached the mirrored wall. The same glass that once rippled like liquid now looked calm, too calm. My reflection stared back, breathing in sync, but the air around it shimmered, warping as if time itself was exhaling. Then the reflection blinked first. "Welcome back," it said. The voice wasn't sound, it was vibration, resonating in my skull. And when it smiled, my reflection didn't move. Behind it, something vast stirred in the glass. Not a figure, more like a field, a dimension of shifting geometry that bent everything it touched. I realized then, Building 47 wasn't built to contain a creature. It was built to contain a timeline. And the guards weren't keeping it from leaving. They were keeping us from merging with it. The reflection spoke again. Every moment you remember exists twice. Once when you lived it, once when we observed it. The mirrored surface began to ripple outward, forming concentric rings like water disturbed by sound. Each wave carried images, me driving home, me staring into the mirror, me holding that photo of myself. But the timestamps at the bottom didn't match. They were all from different days, different versions of me. Then one reflection stepped forward. It wasn't me exactly, older, eyes darker, voice trembling with certainty. You opened the door when you looked back. You didn't survive that night. You were copied. We all were. The hum deepened until my chest vibrated. The mirrored wall pulsed like a heartbeat, slow, rhythmic, human. And in that sound, I finally understood what the hum really was. It wasn't machinery. It was memory. Every thought, every movement, every second ever recorded inside Building 47 had been looping endlessly, a self-contained time system feeding on observation. And when I stared too long, it recorded me too. I tried to back away, but the corridor bent, folding like a ribbon. Each door I passed opened to the same place, the mirrored wall.
Every reflection showed me a different future, one where I never came back, one where the world outside had already turned to glass, one where everything was humming. Then the final reflection looked at me, not ahead or behind, but through. It whispered, "You can't escape what you are part of." My earpiece buzzed to life, static first, then a voice, real, human, panicked. Unit 47 to command, containment breach confirmed. Multiple echoes of Subject M detected outside perimeter. Building is replicating. Replicating. That word hit harder than the sound. The mirrored surface split open, not breaking but unfolding, revealing a sky of moving reflections, each one showing a copy of the Earth, and in every one, Building 47 stood in the same place, the same hum, the same light, like a reflection that learned how to become real. I reached out, maybe to stop it, maybe to understand, and the surface met my hand halfway. It was warm, alive, and for a second I saw thousands of other hands meeting mine from the other side, all versions of me. The last thing I remember is my reflection leaning forward and whispering, "Now you'll see what we see." Then nothing. But if you're hearing this, if you're watching through a screen or window right now, look closely. If the reflection blinks before you do, Building 47 isn't on any map anymore, because it's everywhere now. And if you ever hear a faint hum behind the glass, don't look back. It already saw you.